Alright guys, welcome back to Clutch Kit Garage. Today we're going to be making an exhaust system for the BMW Way. Alright guys, so first things first on the wagon, I already installed the long tube headers and there's no mounting bracket on the end of the exhaust system for me to start with. So I have to take a set of V-band clamps and weld these directly to the end of the exhaust, and then I can continue on with my what's going to be a Y pipe. I'm going to have to fabricate into a Y, and then I can continue the rest of the exhaust with some 2.5 inch stainless, starting with a flex pipe, then a resonator, then a muffler, and then out the back here at some point. So let's get to it. Now that I've got my welding set up ready, I've tacked on the smaller side of the V-band clamp, or the exhaust side of the V-band clamp. Now I'm going to kind of hold it in place and tack it on to the header, the downpipe side of the header. And then I'm going to do this on both sides, and then I'll show you how to make the Y pipe basically. And then it's going to go from here into the 2.5 inch. We'll continue from there, but for now we're going to tack it up right here, and that's where we'll start. So from here, now that it's tacked in place, I'm going to basically weld the whole thing around, and this isn't really going to move, so I can just do a full weld all the way around, but the rest of the exhaust I'm just tacking together. I'm going to take it somewhere else and TIG it together so it looks nice and pretty, basically. Now that the V-band clamps are welded onto the headers, you can go ahead and kind of deburr them. I either use a small, this I got from Harbor Freight, a small belt sander that you can either stick on the inside or go around the edge with. Another thing that works probably better would be a die grinder, and I just basically ground down the tip of it so it can fit inside of the exhaust. That way I can kind of hone out the inside, and it works pretty good. We're all finished smoothing this out, so it's a nice smooth exit and transition. Not the prettiest welds, and I'll definitely clean them up next time I take these headers out, but for now they're sealed and they don't leak, so I'm happy. Alright guys, so now we're on to making the Y pipe. You can see my little diagram. Basically you take the two 45-degree 1.25 or 1.5 pieces, and then you'll make an upside down T, and then what that'll do is it'll make a big open spot. This is 1.5, but it'll basically make a bigger hole than what the diameter of this pipe is when you converge them. And like I said, you make an upside down T. Let's see if you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about here. And basically like that. And as I trim it down, it'll get closer because these do have to fit up a little bit tighter than I have them. But that's kind of the concept of making a Y pipe out of, if you don't have a Y piece, this is pretty much how you make one without a mandrel bend. Got it fabbed up. It's all tacked in place now. Now we're going to cut our upside down T in. Let's get my Sharpie. So roughly across here is where this T is looking, and then what we're going to do, we're going to take the 2.5 inch, or yeah, 2.5 inch here, and you notice it's quite quite a lot bit bigger than the 1.5 inch. But that's kind of good because I can take a hammer and basically I'm gonna beat this down to conform to the shape of these two pipes coming together, and it'll make a lot cleaner of an entry place for the exhaust to flow into. So that'll be cool. Let's get to it. I'm basically gonna beat this pipe into shape around that so I can get a tighter fit and a bigger exhaust opening. You see how much tighter that seals all the way around? It's going to be a lot tighter of a fit now. Fitment mark. It's going to look kind of like that. I can go ahead and cut it. Now I'm going to take it over to the belt sander and clean it up. Alright guys, I finished up cleaning up the end of the Y pipe. See, it's all tacked up in place, ready to go. This is all deburred and sanded. Look how smooth of an entry that's going to be. It's going to be sweet. Let's get welding. There we go. Now we're going to cut it back and I'm going to weld a V-band clamp on here. Here we are, a completed Y pipe. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. I did have to do a drop cut through here to try and get a little bit more angle out of this piece. I didn't angle it enough, so another neat little trick you can kind of get yourself out of a bind with without having to redo the entire part. Now you notice it has a nice, clean, even sweep under to where I need it to go. Now the fun part, I can do pie cuts and make a complete exhaust. So I just got the exhaust system back from my weld shop. I don't have a TIG machine to do all the stainless welding on this exhaust system, so I sent it to a guy and had him weld it up, but when he was welding it, he found out that the piping itself that I use is not stainless, even though I purchased it under the impression that it was stainless, and the tag on the piping said that it was stainless. It is in fact aluminized regular mild steel or whatever, however that mixture is made up, and it's not stainless. So he ended up MIG welding it, which I could have done myself, but it was already there. I already had him weld up to stainless. So I was like, whatever, just do the rest of the thing. So anyway, I'm now unfortunately gonna have to paint this. I was hoping to go for a kind of a raw effect, but I was able to pick up some VHT high temp header paint. This is good till 2,000 degrees, so I think that'll be more than enough for this pretty basic exhaust system. But all these pie cut welds, as you see, are going to have to be, painted. Unfortunately, you see the stainless work came out great, which that looks fantastic. But and then you go down to this piping, which I made the Y pipe out of. He had to MIG weld, and it's not as pretty. But I'm gonna hit it with this silver looking paint, and I think that'll be good enough. I gotta throw it all back in the car so I can create hanger mounts for it, which I got some of these bad boys, and then I got, what is this? Some 3/8 bar or whatever this, I think it's 3/8. I'm going to make some hangers out of it. So that'll be cool. I'll get this thing all mounted and put in, then I'll take it out and I'm gonna paint it, and then we'll be good to go. And then won't be too much longer, we'll be able to start the car. I'm gonna have to put a battery in there and get it charged, and then put my front bumper on and all this other stuff. But for now, let's get this thing mounted. So now that the exhaust hangers are done, let's see here. Now that these are done, I got my dual hanger here. I got the mounts underneath the car. So like I said before, the piping itself is not stainless. My V-band clamps, my resonator, my muffler, those are all stainless. So all those joints where it goes from stainless to non-stainless, and every other joint that's just the piping is gonna have to be sprayed with some form of paint. I'm using whatever VHT flame-proof header paint, very high temperature. It's rated for like 2,000 degrees, which I don't think I'm ever gonna achieve on this exhaust, so it'll be well within its operating limits. And I'm gonna spray down all these joints so they don't rust or corrode on me, because the weld itself will corrode, or will oxidize, I should say. So I'm gonna hit it with some paint, and once this is all done, I can get started on putting it in the car, and then I can do my first fire here at some point. I haven't started this car in a while, so I'm gonna turn it over dry, I guess. I don't know what you technically call it, but yep, that's what we're gonna do. Let's get this painted. All right guys, now that the paint's all dried, I can put it in the wagon and get started with the startup process. Now all that's left is putting in our defowlers for the O2 sensors, and then routing the O2 sensor lines, which is pretty simple. I'm just going to zip tie them up with a couple of zip ties. These things will thread in properly. There's a little bit of high temp paint on the threads, which is why this is being frustrating. But the cool things about these, so I got these on Amazon for like 17 bucks a piece. They're all stainless, they're pre-threaded, and they come with adjustable, what do they call it? I guess output or input bushings, I guess. They come in different sizes. So I kind of picked the middle of the road one, as I don't actually know what's the right size for this. That'll kind of come out in tuning, but I kept the other ones just in case. Probably turn that a little more. There we go. But it also comes with a crushable copper gasket, or well, bushing, I guess, which is pretty cool for such a cheap system. Or such a cheap part. They're well made. Can I freaking build an exhaust system or what? These things came out just to the right spot. It's like I know what I'm doing. That's a joke. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am winging, for the lack of a better term. All right. I got some brand new O2 sensors as well. Probably run them above this. Back spin them so it'll thread in. Look at that. Brilliant. I still have no idea how this is going to function. Obviously, the O2 sensors are going to read more flow. Hopefully not that much more flow than the factory downstreams did. You know, that's kind of the point of these elongated snouts, is so that they don't pick up on a lot of the fumes that go past and they get a reduced reading, as well as that restrictor down there in the bottom. You want to make sure whenever you do any form of running wires or electrical near exhaust systems or anything that's hot, that you try and keep it as absolutely as far away from any form of exhaust system or source of heat as possible to prevent fires. And especially since this car is predominantly going to get hammered on its majority of its life, I'm going to take some extra precautions to keep it away from heat. Especially since I plan on tracking this car at some point. A lot of times. And I'm going to get some grommets so I can mount it to the firewall with, or well, chassis, I guess. We're all set to plug this thing in and fire it up. That sounds so good. Oh, I like that. Let's go! All right, so I just had my first fire on the wagon. It started right up, kind of chugged a little bit. I think everything due to crappy running is because of bad gas, because I've got 2+ year old gas in this thing mixed with stable, mixed with some fresh gas. So it's not gonna perform nicely. But the biggest part, most important part, is that the idle is just, it's throaty, it's quiet for the most part. Like, it's got a rumble, like you can tell there's an exhaust system on it, but it doesn't like sound like an angry chihuahua ready to kill you. It's not really raspy either. I haven't heard it on redline, so I don't know what that part is, but it sounds so good. And it sounds punchy more than anything else. Whoop. Oh, I gotta turn that light off. It sounds really punchy and throaty, and I love it. I am so excited to drive this thing, you don't even know. I got wheels, I'm gonna have tires. Oh, I'm hyped right now. Okay. I gotta go get coolant because I just realized my coolant level is, well, not really, it's gone. There's no coolant in it, but that's fine. I gotta do a bunch of other stuff to this thing as well, but I'm gonna go grab some coolant and run this thing on and off. Probably get some better gas and put some better fuel in it. Where is my thermostat? So, I just love this car so stinking much. I'm so glad it runs. It runs like, it's been on jack stands for close to 5 years now for the most part. And the fact that it just fires right up, sorts itself out, and then idles is the coolest thing ever. It just works so well. It makes me happy. And I'm even more excited now because I'm actually gonna see a couple horsepower out of this exhaust because it's a full exhaust. I might actually get something out of it. The headers are gonna flow so much better. This whole system flows way better, and it flows so good it doesn't sound like it's trying to squeeze through a straw. It just sounds like a healthy inline six, which is kind of weird to say, but it doesn't sound constricted at all, and it just sounds great. So I'm excited to do some future exhaust videos, but that's pretty much it. That's the exhaust for the new Hoon Force 1